Hello, everyone. We are back today with our Rediscover Your Stamps video for May. This is the video series I do with the fabulous Hiba from My Little Journal. We are working with the Eva Alphabet Stamp Set from Paper Person. So we always work with stamps that are older, that we both have in our stash, and I know quite a few of you probably have this stamp set because it's amazing and I've used it before. So, but we're going to have some fun with it. We're going to use it in a completely different way. We're going to start by using it in a traditional way. And that is because we're going to start with our title. So this is just some thin white cardstock. It's actually Epson matte presentation paper. It is created to take ink because technically it's for your printer, but it does such a nice job both in printing and in taking stamp ink, and it's thin, so it does not bulk up your traveler's notebook. I tend to use it for a lot of stuff in my scrap room. So I'm just going to go ahead. I want to get these letters as straight as possible without pulling out my ruler. So we're going to do another kind of spring traveler's notebook spread today. We're going to document my beautiful tulips blooming. We're going to use some epoxy flare. We're going to use a really fun color combination. And I'm going to start by stamping tulips twice using some Catherine Polar Sweet 16 ink. Stamped it twice to get a really nice, good, firm impression. And then for the next part of the stamping, I'm gonna kind of put my MISTI away and we're gonna do some free range stamping with an acrylic block. Oh, I did this 3 times. I really wanted to get a nice, bright, bold, like really good stamp. This is a really light ink color, and so I was trying to get it to be as bright as I could get it because I wanted to make sure you could read it nice, and we are going to do some more techniques to my title as we move through the layout too. For my next kind of layer of stamping, I am grabbing some Catherine Polar Shea Butter ink, and I am going to stamp all over the place. So if you are not a traveler's notebook scrapbooker, I know many of my subscribers aren't. They like 8.5 by 11, 12 by 12, larger pages. What I am showing you today, these techniques will work perfectly for a 12 by 12 scrapbooking page. For example, you could take some washi tape and kind of mask off a section of your 12 by 12 paper, maybe a border across the top, a border across the bottom, and you could create your title for your scrapbook page using these techniques. So I'm taking the Shea Butter ink. I intentionally chose an ink color that was lighter than the Sweet 16 ink. And my head is going to be in the way just a little bit. I'm sorry. That's just the nature of stamping. When you're filming or not, when you're stamping, you need to kind of get in there sometimes so you can really see where your ink is going, what you're doing. I am going through the alphabet. I'm going through all the letters, mixing, matching, not caring which letter that I am choosing. And I am just filling this entire paper with letters. So some of the letters are sideways, some of the letters are the right way up. I'm looking for letters that will kind of fit into each other. And this stamp set is perfect for this technique because it has those little like tails on them so they can kind of fit together really, really nicely. So this was a super fun technique for me to do. I had so much fun creating this background paper. This did take me a little bit of time. I think in total, This entire Traveler's Notebook spread took me close to 50 minutes, which, yeah, that's for a Traveler's Notebook spread, that's a good bit of time. But about 95% of that time was this, stamping all of these letters. And the technique turned out so good. And I got so much use out of my stamps that I just didn't care. I was really enjoying doing this. I had such a good creative play when I made this spread. Once I had all of the letters down, I went back in with the stamp that's like a period, and I just dotted it about in areas that I felt looked too white. And that just gave the whole pattern just a little bit extra, a little bit of finishing touch. We're going to come back to this period and dotting those colors around too. Okay, next part of our stamping pattern here. Now I'm coming back in with my MISTI. I'm putting my sheet of white pattern paper exactly in the same place in that bottom right corner of my MISTI as I did the first time when I stamped the tulip. I'm going to go back in with the letters of a tulip, but I'm going to put the stamp set just offset. So I'm just taking the stamp and moving it down just a little bit, and then I'm stamping using Sangria ink from Catherine Pooler, which is a much bolder, darker purple. And I am giving my stamping a bit of shadow. Well, actually a lot of shadow. I love how this turned out. This is another way to make your stamps pop, to make your alphabet stamps look different. We want to get as much use out of our alphabet stamps as we possibly can, right? We want to really use them a lot and enjoy them. But sometimes we can be like, oh, but I just use this one. How can I make it look different? This is a great way to make it look different. So stamp your title in a lighter color, lighter shade of ink. So if you're using purple, in this case, I'm using purple, light color, light and dark. If you want to use blue, just use like a baby blue and like a navy. And stamp your lighter colored title. A MISTI or a stamp press really does come in handy for this technique, but it's not, you could definitely do this quite easily with a stamping block as well, because especially if you have a nice clear acrylic stamping block, you do need to be able to see where your ink is going, because you need to make sure that you're getting that offset, that you're taking the alphabet stamp and just kind of popping it down just a little bit. Look how cool that looks. I love this. I love this title. It turned out exactly the way I had envisioned it when I started stamping. And whenever you are going to stamp something like this to create a pattern, what you really want to do is you want to start with your lighter colors and then work into your darker colors. So I didn't have to mask anything off, or, you know, the yellow is kind of like in between the letters and it looks like it's in the background because the sangria is so dark that it kind of just stamped right over it without showing through at all. So I've set all of that stamped piece aside to kind of cure, dry, let that ink really soak good into that paper. And I'm going to go ahead and map my photo onto this really pretty plaid paper from Catherine Pooler. This paper is from her Urban Plaid 6x6 paper pad. And you'll notice I'm not using a tape runner today. I am going to use Spiegel Mom Scraps Tear It tape as my adhesive throughout this spread for a very simple reason. I had gone away on a weekend crop, and all my stuff is still, right now when I'm voicing over this video, all my stuff is still in bags. I couldn't find my tape runner, but I had to get this project done and filmed, so we went with Tear It tape. It's one of those behind the scenes things. You never know when your tape runner's gonna walk off. And you know I found it, like the second I was doing the photos for this project, and the tape runner was like right there staring me in the face, and I'm like, why couldn't I find you while I was putting this together? But that's okay. Tear tape from Spiegel Mom Scraps is a really, really good adhesive, and I would have needed it to adhere the epoxies anyway, so no worries. I am grabbing the Sweetest Little Butterfly epoxies from Scrap and Happy Studio. All I could think when I was doing this page was, Hiba doesn't really like butterflies, but I absolutely love them. And I am a huge fan of epoxy flares from Scrap and Happy Studio because they're flat. Like, they work so well in a traveler's notebook, but they add something completely different other than paper. And they're so super cute. They come in all different styles and colors, and I love them. So I am just going to go ahead. I'm going to put all these pretty, pretty purple and yellow butterflies down. And then we're going to add some Lavender Fields sequins from Spiegel Mom Scraps. In my world, a project is not complete without sequins, and that's just the way it is. So I'm using the Lavender Fields mix, and I'm just pulling out like the purples and the yellows, and a little bit of, there is like a Merlot, very similar to that sangria colored ink that I used in my stamping. So I'm pulling some of those out, and I'm just adding a little sparkly sprinkle around my spread. And here's where I could have cried, because I realized that I measured my paper wrong. So we're going to end up, I was fine with it. I'm going to put the paper into the book, and I'm going to cut down the extra little bit. And my S does get cut off just a smidge, like just a smidge, but it's okay, and it looks great. So just wanted to show you that so you know, like, I also sometimes mismeasure my paper when I work outside of my notebook and then put my pages into my notebook. Sigh. And then while I was looking at it and putting in, I decided that I wanted a little more of that sangria color. So I am actually just going to come in with that little kind of period, I guess it's a period, from the alphabet stamp set. And I'm going to dot some more of that sangria around just for a little more of that color, so that color isn't just in my lettering. And that's where we are going to call this spread done. Thank you so, so much for joining me today. Be sure to head over and check out Hiba's video. I'm sure she has some more amazing uses for your stamp sets. And I'll talk to you all again soon. Bye.